Hello everyone. Today I am going to work on showing you guys how to take apart the center console in a Chrysler Crossfire. This is something that a lot of people have been asking me about since I've done it before. The last time I did it, it was in the middle of the night, so I was not going to do a video. It was dark, so I'm going to work on that today. Hopefully I don't break anything and it all goes well. This is always something that's kind of scary for me to do. It's much more complicated than you may think. So that's why I'm doing a video. I'm actually taking mine apart so I can fix my ashtray. That's what it's called. It's called an ashtray. I don't know what it is because I don't use an ashtray, but it's I'm gonna show you in a second. But it's getting on my nerves. It won't stay in, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace that today. And so I have to take my entire console apart to get to that. Okay, here you go. As you can see, I have my Kenwood radio. I already took off the faceplate and I've started to pull it out. It's my Kenwood Marine radio, so I've already used the keys to get it pulled out, but I wanted to leave it in to show you guys me removing it. But I already used the Kenwood radio removal keys to get this out, so I'm just going to pull this out. That's the first step. You cannot, a lot of people try to remove these vents first, and you can't do that. There's some screws underneath here, and they're hidden. You won't know that, and so you kind of do, I actually have a guide right here in case I forget the order. This is from the repair manual, so I have this as a reference in case I forget exactly what needs to be done in the right order. But the first thing you need to do is remove the radio. You can't do anything else until you do that. So I'm going to have to pause this because I have my aftermarket wiring harness there that I need to remove all of that stuff. And then I'm going to show you the removal of the factory radio, which I have. I went ahead and grabbed my factory radio from the house, and I'm going to show you guys how you would get that out in case you still have the factory radio. Okay, so see, this is, if you have an aftermarket radio, you might see something like this. This is actually not that bad compared to some that I've seen. It has the adapter harness. This is the original wiring harness right here. So so when I install this radio, and by the way, if you're installing an aftermarket radio, do not splice into the original harness. You're really going to make a nightmare for anyone trying to put this car back to stock in the future. So you're going to buy an aftermarket adapter harness, which is what you see here. I had to make a couple of modifications to it. There are guides on how to do that. I may or may not post that in the description, because one reason to take the console apart is if you're doing aftermarket radio, so I can possibly post you some of these links to like this adapter harness and stuff that I used. So basically, I didn't have to cut into the original harness at all, which is really nice. So I can easily go back to stock, and I haven't done any modifications to my car itself. So I'm going to go ahead and take all this apart, and I will be back. So as you can see, I've removed my aftermarket Kenwood radio from the car, and I have the adapter harness attached to it, and I have my original wiring harness to the car completely separate. I am going to tuck this inside here to kind of get it out of the way. You don't need to shove it way back there. You want to be able, I guess you could reach in and grab it if it falls back there. I guess you could. I apologize for the stuff on the floorboard. This car, I'm doing a lot of work on it right now, so I've been keeping some things, some of that's work stuff, but I've been keeping things down on the floorboard while I work on it, trying to get it all ready for the dragon trip. I could have waited on this, but it's been on my to-do list, and I finally got everything done. And really, I just don't want this like driving me crazy when I'm on my trip to the dragon, so it won't stay in at all, and the cover won't even stay on. The cover is like broken or something, so I could have just glued it shut and not worried about it, but I kind of want it to be functional, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt to replace it. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it goes well. I do have a replacement from our parts car, so I'll go ahead and just replace it, and we'll see how it goes. So okay, I'm going to attempt, I can't remember exactly, but this is the cage for my Kenwood radio, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt to keep that in there. I really don't have to take it out, but we'll see as time goes. I haven't had to do this part before because the cars I've worked on had the original Infinity radio, which looks like this. That's the original Infinity radio. The keys look like this, and I'll post a link in the description to the keys that you need. But basically, you're going to insert the keys. Obviously, that cage is not going to be in there. I can't put my radio in without taking the cage out, but you would insert the keys, and then once the keys lock into place, you're going to grab both keys with both hands. So, you know, right hand, a finger here and a finger there, and you're just going to pull straight out. It's really cool. They come straight out. It's really, really easy once you have the right keys. And then to get these keys out, you're going to use a flathead screwdriver, and you're going to press, you may need some help, but you're going to press down here. And then simultaneously, while you're pressing this tab down, you're going to pull this key out, and that will remove the key from the radio. So I still have these keys in the radio from when I removed the radio from my car, just never got around to removing them. So that's how you get your original Infinity radio out. You can see I labeled it. There's my, I labeled it because I label all the parts for our cars. So that way I know which part came out of which car. I'm just weird like that, but anyway, I guess when you're a collector, you have to be. But anyway, so that's how you get that out. If you have any questions about how to get the radio out, other than what I just said, just let me know. Otherwise, next step is going to be, I'm going to try to pry this panel off. You're going to use a trim tool. I'll show you that in a minute. You're going to use a trim tool, a silicone trim tool, to pry this off. And these are all connected, so it's still going to be connected to the car, so you'll have to remove those connectors next, but you have to get this plate off. Hopefully I won't have to remove this cage. I honestly can't remember, because again, this is the first time I've removed the console with an aftermarket radio in there, so we'll see as time goes by. Okay, this is what a trim removal tool looks like. Well, they're all different shapes and sizes. This is just the one that I found right now. I kind of have them. I'm not the most organized person. My close friends know that. I'm trying, but anyway, I can never find stuff. So this is the only one I can find right now. It's silicone and soft. It's not going to scratch the paint or anything. You can pick these up at a lot of auto parts stores. If not, you can definitely get it on Amazon. I can post a link in the description to the kit that I bought. It's really great, but they're all basically the same. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to carefully pry wherever I can get this in here to try to start to pry this panel off. So let me go ahead and get that started. And I'll be back. Yeah, I had to remove my cage, which meant bending it, so I hope I can get it bent back into place, because if it's not exactly right, then the radio won't fit in right, so I had to bend it to get it out. It's locked in there for a reason, because the next step is it was hiding these screws right up there. Let me see if I can, it's kind of dark. I have a flashlight down here, hon. Anyway, you can see there's a screw there and a screw there that you have to remove before you can get this panel off, and that was what was causing me problems. So the cage was in the way, so I had to take that off. So if you have an aftermarket radio, remove your cage, and then the next step is remove those two screws on the right and the left on the top. They're Phillips. You can use a Phillips screwdriver for that. Okay, and I apologize for my neighbor. They're weed eating or something, blowing the lawn, so making lots of noise. But you're going to take your trim removal tool and just, once you have the screws out, it comes out pretty easily. Just kind of, pry it and all the, try to get it underneath everywhere. And it's going to pop right out once you have those screws out. No problem. There you go. See, it's popping out. So I carefully remove that. You may want to remove this shifter. I haven't been able to get one off, but I think you have to unscrew this thing at the bottom. It's much easier to do this process, by the way, if you can get this off, but I haven't been able to. You're supposed to, I think, unscrew this bottom thing, and then this just pops right off. So you unscrew this, and then this pops right off, but I haven't been able to get any of these off yet, so we'll see if I'm able to get it off. Definitely helps to be out of the way. So anyway, you have this. The problem is you have all this wiring back here, right here, and you have to remove all these things. This is kind of the hardest part of this process, really. So I don't have to remove any of this upper stuff to get to this ashtray. I just have to remove this. I don't have to remove any of these. I'll just leave these in place. Well, you don't have to mess with things, but see, those are the hidden screws I was talking about. So a lot of people try to remove these vent things first, and I've seen people, they crack here because they're trying to pull it off. They're trying to pry it off, and it won't come off because of these hidden screws, so don't do that. And I would recommend not removing these if you don't have to, because it's set in a certain position, and it's really hard to get these back in. I've removed these before. They're really difficult to get back in properly, and if you don't put there's a connection back there. If you don't put it back on properly, then these will be off, so which is not good. So anyway, let me try to figure out how to. This is the hardest part of the process, is removing these connectors. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to show y'all. I might have to remove this. I did it before without removing my shifter, but it's not fun to do at all. It's all kinds of different little things you have to remove. I think my husband said there's an easier way to do it. I'm gonna have to ask him real quick to see what that was. There was an easier way than how I did it last time. So let me go check back with him. I'll be back. Okay, here we go. I decided, like, right after I pressed pause, that I'm gonna bungee this thing. I put some bungee cords everywhere. I bungeed it to the steering wheel just to get it out of the way, because the goal is, usually people are not replacing this panel, but if you need to replace this panel, I can do a separate video later on that. But this, I'm telling you, if you don't have to remove this connector, just don't do it, unless you really have to replace this panel to paint it or whatever. I would even go as far as, I don't know, painting it on the car, but I might even go as far as cutting these wires and re-splicing them. This is a nightmare to try to get this thing off. But anyway, so I'm not going to do that. I just bungeed it to the car to get it out of the way. I am going to get this shifter out of the way. The last time I removed an ashtray, I left the shifter here, and it was not fun. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to get that removed, and I will be back. Okay, what I decided to use is this little, this is like an oil filter removal tool. I bought this at, I think AutoZone. No, it wasn't AutoZone. This was Advanced Auto. I bought this one at. Advanced Auto sells these, and it comes in a pack of 2, a big one and a little one. I've never had a use for the little one before, but it seems to be proving helpful to get this. You have to unscrew it this way, and it's really stuck. So you could also use, like, you can get like a rubber band and wrap it around there and twist it that way, and that will help you get it off. And from what I understand, and I'll find out in a minute, once this is unscrewed, this just pops right off. So I guess I will find out in a minute. Okay, I was turning it the wrong way. It goes clockwise. When you're looking down on it, it's clockwise, so it actually should have been going this way, like that. I actually went and got some rubber bands to wrap around to give me some ability to grasp onto it, and you just turn it clockwise. I have to remove the rubber bands so I can slide it all the way down. Oh, so I learned something new today. So you slide this down, or unscrew it and then slide it down. Wow, I learned something new. Always a good thing. Always learning. Okay, oh, there we go. Okay, and this should just pop right off. Well, not when I'm holding my phone, but anyway, it's supposed to pull straight up, so I'm going to work on. Okay, I've gotten the knob off, but it's still kind of in the way, so I'm going to get this into neutral you're going to stick a long screwdriver straight down until it clicks onto something. It's been a while. And then you're going to pull, I guess you could start the car and do it. Yeah, I have the key, so I can start the car. Duh. So here we go. Or not start the car, but I'm gonna put it in neutral. I put the emergency brake on. I'm gonna get neutral. I guess I could. It won't go into drive. I'm not gonna do that. That should give me enough clearance. Make sure your car is not rolling. You have your emergency brake on. You could, if you're worried about your car rolling, I would just leave it where it was, and this is still going to be in the way, but this is going to give me some more space to pull this radio out, because the radio is not fun to get out. Okay, I took my key out. Or no, I didn't take, I turned the car off, and I closed my door so it wouldn't beep, but I had the doors open to give me some more ventilation. But you're going to take a Phillips screwdriver, and there's a screw right there, and a screw right there that you're going to remove with your Phillips screwdriver. Okay, the next thing you're going to need to do is take your trim removal tool, and I've already done this, is pry off this bezel right here with your trim removal tool. Alternatively, you could use a flathead screwdriver, but you're going to probably damage your paint, so I would definitely invest in these. It's definitely worth having because there's so many uses for these. So pop this off, and then you're going to need to use the trim removal tool. This panel just pops right off. And this is constantly in my way, but this is going to pop right off. And there are 2 hidden screws that you won't know about. So that's why watching videos like this is useful. They are right there. There's one. And on the other side, my ashtray is covering it right there. Remove those, and then you'll be on to the next step. Oh, also, you should remove these two connectors so you can take this completely off. There's a tab right here. You're going to need to use a baby flathead screwdriver to kind of push that in, and then you're going to pry these off. Okay, so these are a little bit of a pain to get off. So you don't have to remove. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand, so I'm going to have to. Actually, I may just put this on my tripod. But anyway, this is a little itty bitty flathead screwdriver, and if you're not comfortable with this, again, you just have to get to those screws to remove those. This is going to be a little bit in the way, but you could like prop it back like this while you're trying to get this ashtray out. But the ashtray is not fun to get out, so if you can get things out of your way, I would do that. But you're going to need to pry. What I did was I pried on these sides, I think, on each side like this. It's kind of difficult. You may need a second person to hold the tabs down while you pry on the sides. They're not difficult to get out, but they're not easy either. So it's going to take a little bit of finagling, but I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back. Now I remember what I did. I was playing around with it. So what I did was there's this tab on each side, and that's what's holding it in there. So what I did was you may bend up this plate a little bit, but that's just to me the easiest way to get it out. You're going to kind of pry this back a little bit, and then I just pried up right here and pushed it up, and you're going to need to do that on the other side as well, and keep going back and forth until you get both tabs sticking out to where you're able to pry out the whole thing. It's really not that difficult. You may end up bending this gray plate a little bit, but I don't see any other easy way to get it out. Okay, I got one out. That wasn't that bad. So again, you're just going to kind of let me show you on this side. See if I can prop the phone and do it. You're going to get your little bitty flathead screwdriver under here, just enough to where you kind of bend it up a little bit. Sorry, it's blurry. Just kind of bend it a little bit, but try not to break it. Bend it up a little bit. You just need a little bit of clearance, and then you're going to get this underneath the plug and pull, and it's hard with one hand, pull up like this. And you're going to need to do that on the other side as well. And when you do that on the other side, it should just pop right out. If not, then just keep going back and forth and kind of shimmy it out. It'll eventually come out. There, so now I have my plate off the car, so it gives me plenty of space. And this one's obviously been through something. It needs to be cleaned, so I'll probably clean all these before I put them back. I'll probably vacuum in here real good. This radio, and I haven't unscrewed these screws yet, but I will. This radio is not fun to get out. The repair manual basically says, and there's no other way, you kind of have to rotate it up this way, diagonally, and then pry it out. And you're going to hear a whole lot of plastic mangling and grinding and whatnot, and you're going to be thinking you're breaking something, and you may break something. This is 13-year-old plastic in most cases, and so it's not fun to have to do, but it's the only, unfortunately, because of the tight situation, the only other way is to remove, if you can remove this this thing right here. It may give you some more leeway to get this out, but I wouldn't recommend that, because to do that, you have to do it really on both sides, and you have to remove the glove box and the airbag thing over there, and it's really not fun. So I actually removed all that thinking it would make my life easier, and it didn't really help much. So I wound up having to, because this is stuck inside this column right here, so there's really no other easy way. So I'll show you that in a minute once I get these screws out. Don't forget the screws, otherwise you're gonna break those two tabs. Okay, so this is the repair manual. As you can see, this is the diagram. I just had to look it up again because it's just I was trying to get it out. I couldn't remember, and it's just a nightmare to get out. So you're gonna have to. You may want a couple hands. You may want to see if somebody can help bend this back a little bit, maybe, who knows. But it says to press the ashtray housing to the left, so you're going to press it down on the left and then remove it toward the right, like that. So that's basically what it says to do. So it looks easy in the repair manual, but it's not at all, and you're going to have some tugging and a lot of plastic bending noise. Okay, this was easier than last time, but again, last time I did it, it was dark. So I pressed it in here to the left, and I just pried it out on the right, and I had to push it under. I had to push this under there a little bit. Takes a little bit of prying, and you definitely have to be rough with it. Be rough with it, otherwise you won't get it out. And I'm guessing it's gonna, oh, it comes right out. Oh, look how easy that was. That was much easier than last time. Okay. And then there's a harness you have to disconnect. Right. There's several. I'm gonna have to replace my whole thing. This one right here, and then these. These I don't remember being that difficult to get off, but I'm going to play with these a little bit and I'll be back. Okay, this top one, I took again my my itty bitty flathead screwdriver. By the way, these are really useful whenever you're removing any kind of connectors. This is pretty much you want to use something really, really tiny. And I just took it right here, and it's hard with one hand, but I pried it up. There you go, pried it up right here on this side. You see that's the back of the ashtray. I just stuck it on the back and pried it right out, and it comes right out. That's one of your lights. So that's how that one came out. Okay, this little connector in the middle was a bit of a doozy. It goes right there in that little slot. What I did was I took my itty bitty flathead screwdriver and I just kind of stuck it on each side of the connector, all four sides, and slowly, very gently pulled. So I would stick it on the right side and then tug, and then on the front and tug, and then on the left side and then tug, and then on the back side and tug on all four sides of the connector. And I kept doing that and kind of shimmied it out that way, very, very gently. I did pull on the wires. You are taking a risk doing that, but again, be really gentle when you pull. It takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of time and gentleness, and not being too rough on it. But again, I took my itty bitty flathead screwdriver and all four sides, just slowly shimmied it out, and very, very patiently did it, so that way I don't break anything. So that one's out. Now I gotta work on this one, figure out how I'm gonna get this one out. So I'll be back. Okay, this last connector is really difficult to get off. Ideally, you would pry this one off, but it has to be pried at the bottom, and there's no way to get down there. So I don't know if this whole unit can be pulled out. I'm not sure. Maybe not. So the way this has to work is, and I broke mine, but I wasn't worried about it because I was replacing my radio. But there's a white tab right here, and I just broke it off since I was replacing my radio anyway. You may be able to break yours off, and we'll see if mine's well, I'm replacing my radio, so who cares? It really doesn't matter. My husband actually managed to get off our parts car, managed to get this whole thing off without breaking the white part. I don't even know where mine went. It flew somewhere, I think. But there's a little white tab that connects to this side, and I just broke it off. And then what I did was I took a more aggressive screwdriver, again a flathead, this one. Not too big, but kind of medium sized. And I just, with this one, you have to, it's going to be hard to put back on too, but you have to just take, what I did was I took it and I just pushed it. It has to slide towards that wall right there. So I aggressively pushed it towards that wall, slid it off, and then it pulls out. Once it, basically, those metal prongs right there go inside these holes right here. So basically you have to slide it out towards the wall. You have to slide it out from those prongs and then lift up. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to get it back in once I replace my ashtray, but I think this connector is going to be good. It looks like the only thing that's needed is for those metal prongs to be inside these holes right here, those rectangular holes. And I think it will work, so we'll see when I'm all done if my cigarette lighter still works. I don't smoke cigarettes, but it's nice to be able to have accessories like my dash cam running when I'm driving, so we shall see if it works when it's all said and done. But it looks like the only way it functions for power is these prongs right here. So I think we should be good. And the piece that's on my replacement ashtray thing is in pretty good shape. Luckily, my husband, he's better with connectors. He pulled it off better. But anyway, alternatively, you could just cut the wires and then splice back in. But you would have to buy a replacement. These are hard enough to find, but you would have to, if you can find a replacement ashtray thing that works. That still has the connector attached where someone cut the wires. Honestly, if I was you, I would just cut your wires and then splice in the new wires. Is probably easier, and you're probably a lot less likely to break this connection over here. That will probably work better for you. Or if you're removing your ashtray to repair it, I would also do the same thing. I would just cut the wires and splice it because you're taking a big risk trying to get this thing off. But I knew that my husband had disconnected this harness. So my replacement ashtray doesn't have it just looks like that. So I had to get this connector off so I can put it on the new on the replacement. But anyway, hopefully it'll work when all is said and done. Okay, here's my replacement unit. This came off of our parts car. It's a little bit scratched up, but the ashtray does work perfectly. And that's what I wanted, or at least to have it stay shut, and at least to have the cover stay on. I probably would have found a way to keep mine shut if the cover would stay on, but I could not get my cover to stay on, so that was my biggest issue. With these being so hard to replace and hard to find, it's, you know, to the point where you may have to do that. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead. First thing I'm going to do is plug in the cigarette lighter thing into here. As you can see, the white piece is still on there. My husband did bend it back a little bit, but we're going to have to see if we can get that to work. I'm going to go ahead and plug in that thing and then turn on my car to on, not start. I'm going to turn it to on and then see, and then I'm going to plug in my dash cam and see if the cigarette lighter works before I go through the trouble of installing all this back just to find out that the cigarette lighter doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll play with it a little bit to see if I can get it to work. We'll see. So anyway, I'll be back. Okay, yay. The blue light lights up. That means everything works, and I just heard my dash cam turn on. There it is, my dash cam. And so this was actually pretty easy to slide back in. The way my husband removed it from the parts car, bending this back a little bit, it was made it easy to where I could slide this right on. So it looks like it works. So that means I am on to going ahead and reinstalling everything. Alright, so now you begin the process of putting all this back together. Now that you have your new unit in, your new ashtray unit, or if you didn't replace your unit, if you were just doing other repair. Anyway, the reinstall process is that you are going to first connect all 3 connectors. The one up here, that one just goes back in. And that one goes back in. I glued that because my husband broke it, but the glue just came out. And then we already talked about sliding this one back in. Okay, the next thing you're going to do, I've already cleaned all this up, is you're going to put this this module ashtray thing back in the way you took it out, which is I'm going to attempt to put the left hand side in first and then rotate the right side in. That's what I'm going to attempt to do, which is the reverse of what we did before to take it out. Okay, I successfully got this unit back in. Again, just as I stated, get the left-hand side in first, and you have to kind of rotate. It's difficult. I actually had to pull these out a little bit. It would be helpful if you had a second person. Had to rotate the right side to get it behind here. That was the hardest part, is to get, you have to get this unit, this tab behind this thing, and that's the most difficult part. So anyway, it's all in, and I didn't break the ashtray, so that's good. So I'm on to the next step, which is I'm going to put all 4 screws in now. Sorry for the weed eating again. It's a Sunday, so everybody's weed eating. But anyway, I also put these 2 screws back that I did not have to remove. If you're removing this unit, you do need to remove them, but I didn't have to. So, and then I'm going to put this unit back into place. It just pops right in, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so this panel gets installed with, I had a hard time getting it in. You put the top in first and then put the bottom in. And then you're going to go ahead and put these 2 hidden screws that were right here, there, and there. Put those back in. Okay, to put your Infinity radio back in, it literally just slides and pops right in. Make sure you reconnect all the connectors first before you slide it back in. Now go ahead and reinstall this plate right here. Make sure when you put these connectors back in, notice that there's pins in only certain holes. Line those pins up with the metal connectors in there. So there's 3 of them, so make sure those 3 pins line up with those exactly. Otherwise, it won't work properly. So I've successfully put that in. Then I'm going to go ahead and just snap this thing on. It just snaps straight on. Okay, slide this thing back on. And then you're just going to pop this thing back on. But I think it goes a certain alignment. I'm not sure. I'll have to check it out. Okay, so you have to line these tabs up with these holes right here when you push this thing down. And notice the curvature has to be on this side. So then you're just going to pull this up and then rotate to the right this way. You have to pull it up more, I guess. I'm going to need another hand for that. And then rotate to the right to lock it back into place. I actually wound up pushing this thing down more, and then I started rotating to the right. And I found that worked pretty well. I also started reinstalling all the harnesses for my radio. And now I have finished my console project, or my Ashtray project. So I have everything put back together. My radio works. I tested everything. My Ashtray works. Our dogs got out, so it works. Yay, finally! So I'm so happy I get to go to the Dragon and not have to worry about this ashtray sticking out. Because I don't know if y'all remember. I'm not sure I did in the beginning of the video, but the whole thing, it wouldn't stay in, and then the lid was broken. It wouldn't stay. The lid wouldn't stay on. It wouldn't stay in. It just looked awful all the time. So it was this big old black hole like all the time. So looks so much better. One less thing to worry about. I'm very happy. Any questions? Just feel free to post in the comments, and I can try to answer whatever I can, or contact me on Facebook. Let me test to make sure this cigarette lighter should work, because it worked before I plugged it in, but always good to check. Yep, you can see the blue, so that means that my cigarette lighter is working, and also this light is working. I purposely turned the airbag off so I would see if it works, because this is one of the things we had to detach. It was this, and then there's a red light. By the way, there's a bulb. There's a little teeny tiny bulb. Let me find it in a second, but it's supposed to light up like red or something in here when this opens. There's a light back here. And there's that connector on the very top, that was for that. There's a bulb in there. Those tend to blow. I'm going to go ahead and post in the description a link to buying that bulb, because I wasn't able to replace mine because I don't have the bulb and I don't want to wait. So I have to replace that at a later date. But I'm going to, that's something you would want to order before you embark on this project. Other than that, see, my radio works. Everything works. It's great. Wonderful. And my ashtray works. My cup holder works as well. So anyway, everything works. It's always a good thing. Okay, so thanks for watching, everyone. This is the bulb that you need to replace. It's really, really tiny. This one's blowing out. As a matter of fact, the one in our parts car didn't work either. But I know it lights up red because, I think it's red. Anyway, it lights up in my 2008. I think still works. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing on my channel, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you can see all my videos that I post. And also, if you like this video, go ahead and put a thumbs up on it, and feel free to contact me on Facebook or put in the comments if you have any questions.